Shalom, Israel. Shalom. It's the brother Quatazio Hawad back at it with another lesson. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha HaKodash. Double honors to my teachers, the elders, and apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to you brothers out there laboring in His truth and faith and sincerity. And shalom to you families out there watching, waiting, praying on Yahweh Shai's second return. Peace and blessings to the house of David, the hopeful elect. All right, so I'm fresh off the plantation, man. Before I turn it in, I want to get this quick lesson in. Abaratazah, Father will. All right, Abaratazah, Father will. It be quick, fast, straight to the point, and it be edifying for the hopeful elect. All right, so there's gonna be various topics that I wanted to just quick go into. All right. This first one is going to be this article here.
Oh, the rock are coming.
Tourists killed by volcano after defying ban to film content.
Oh, it's killed them. Oh my God, they died. Oh, they died. Oh, the rock.
All right, so that's all we got from that clip, but it immediately made me think about how we're in a time where, wickedness is at an all-time high, and left and right, you got people tempting the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, and the scriptures tell us, thou shalt not tempt the Lord. And there's many scriptures on that, right? Deuteronomy 6 and 16. Ye shall not tempt Yahweh your power as ye tempted him in Messiah. Isaiah 7 and 12. But Ahaz said, I will not ask, neither will I tempt Yahweh. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 4, verse 7. Yahweh shall said unto him, it is written again, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy power. And Luke 4 and 12, and Yahweh shall answer and said unto him, it is said, thou shalt not tempt the Lord thy power, right? And it goes on and on, right? About how you should not tempt the Lord. And that, what they did, is a version of tempting Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, right? They define orders or rules and regulations, if you will, right, that are set in place to keep people from dying, all right? And they defied it by going up, I guess, to the top of that mountain or whatever it was, and Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai made quick work of them. This is why you fear the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, at all times. All right, this is why we fear him, and the hopeful elect fears him, and the hopeful elect will be doing their very best every day to make sure that they're not doing anything against the will of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. All right. Salaki, bear with me. Also, we got the United States, right, talking about UFOs, and now they're trying to reveal information about UFOs, if you will, and what have you. But if you in this faith, you in this truth, and if you have been for some time, then so-called UFOs are chariots of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, right? Angelic vehicles being piloted by angels, all right? And by Yahweh Shai in some cases, like when our people was in Egypt, right? And Pharaoh finally let us go. And remember, at the last second or whatever, he changed his mind and he came after our people. You know, Yahweh Shai was in the chariot, man, and blew his ass up. You know, zapped his ass. You know what I'm saying? You know.
New at noon, some never-before-seen files on UFOs are now available for everyone to see. The Pentagon says Americans can now get instant access to the files related to extraterrestrial life with no clearance required. This is a look at some of those files. Today's release comes after President Donald Trump ordered the Pentagon to release them last year. The Defense Department says more materials will be declassified every few weeks.
All right, so as time goes on, they're going to be releasing more and more files on these UFOs, if you will. All right, because the wicked Esau, Edom, they know the wicked of the earth, right? They know what the chariots are. Okay. This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 5, and verse 1. Then I turned and lifted up mine eyes and looked, and behold, a flying roll. And he said unto me, what seest thou? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and the breadth thereof is 10 cubits. Okay, so Zechariah saw a chariot. All right, because that's also what chariot is likened unto, right? As we read in the scriptures, a flying roll, a whirlwind, a cloud. Okay. Shalaki, bear with me. This is Isaiah 66 and 15. For behold, Yahweh cometh fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. So the chariots coming in like a whirlwind, right? Describing how fast they moving, right? How fast they fly, right? And to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire, because, you know, laser beams are concentrated fire. All right. And those laser beams from the chariots are going to be destroying shit, you know, zapping motherfuckers out their clothes, you name it. All right. Get the next verse. For by fire and by his sword will Yahweh plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahweh shall be many. Right. So in that day, when Yahweh shall return, okay, with his army of angels and an army of chariots behind him, right? Yahweh Shai on, you know, flying his chariot, and then, you know, thousands of chariots with him. All right. You know, the slain are gonna be many in that day. You know? And we got plenty of precepts on you know, and obviously this ain't even scratching the surface, but you know, these are just some precepts that I'm gonna have to get again on my iPad, because I just accidentally deleted them. And I can even go back and watch this myself, but nonetheless, you could pause the video right there and grab precepts to that. All right, because I'm not trying to make this too long, like I said. All right, this is supposed to be you know, quick. Let me see. All right. You know, quick various topics, as I said. Frontier plane kills fence jumping pedestrian during Denver takeoff. All right. You know, and that's the spirit of vengeance that took him out, man. Because what the fuck was you doing jumping that damn fence? You know? But Yahweh Shem Shai put that spirit on you to be at that time, at that place, and get killed by that damn plane, man. You know? Bright lights and hot orbs, UFO files shed light on sightings, but leave interpretation to the public, right? So you're going to be seeing more headlines about this, right? You're going to see more headlines and files being released. All right, because we're getting into that time, man. We're nearing the end. You know, we're nearing the end when the world is going to see these so-called UFOs and that they chariots of the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahushua. All right. That's what you get. Man plunged steak knife into ex-girlfriend 16 times, laughed as she was dying and said, "I don't care about you." A Wisconsin man stabbed his ex-girlfriend with a steak knife 16 times after claiming that he caught her cheating with many men while they were together. All right. And he said, "I don't care about you," in the back of a squad car. That's what you get, being a whore. And, you know, this is why, you know, it's important to understand what adultery is, you know, and fornication. You know, when you come into this truth, man, it's important to understand that adultery for a woman is being with a man, like you see this woman here in the picture, being with a man, but then having sex and dealing with another man or other men, you know, which in the old days was punishable by death. All right. But we live in a time now in a society where it's not punished by death. It's only, you know, as far as like the law goes and the officials of the city and what have you, it's only punished by death in situations like this, right? When Yahweh Shem Yahushua put the spirit on a man to do that to the woman, all right? And as a man, you commit adultery when you sleep. Like, see how he was with this woman before he deleted her, right? Well, if he would have got with another woman, you know, that was single, and he's not Israelite likely, all right, but still, you know, if he would have got with another woman that was single, he would have been cool. That's not adultery. But if he would have got with another woman that had a man, that's adultery. All right. And fornication, like I said, is physical and spiritual fornication. Not to dive too deep into that because we've done, you know, Brothers of Great Millstone, collectively, we've done enough videos on that. But just to touch it real quick, touch on it, if you will, you know, spiritual fornication is following after other gods. All right. Physical fornication is anything sexually immoral. So masturbation, necrophilia, you know, bestiality, incest, that type of stuff, right? Anything sexually immoral. Okay, it's not sex before marriage because sex is marriage. But again, that's not what this topic is about. All right. But yeah, let this just be a lesson, man, that adultery, you know, adultery ain't cool and it's heavily frowned upon. All right. It's heavily frowned upon. And that's why Yahweh Shem Yahushua put the spirit on this man to delete this woman in a gruesome manner. All right. And a lot of females that think that they be getting away with this shit and receive no consequence, well, they in for a hell of a rude awakening when Jacob's trouble hit. All right. I'm just trying to hit some real quick. World War III heating up, right? The conflict between the U.S. and Iran.
More news for you now. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, he's set to give an update on the war in Iran as President Donald Trump faces low approval ratings over the conflict and the effect that it continues to have on the economy.
Meanwhile, the U.S. says it destroyed several Iranian vessels in the Strait of Hormuz yesterday, despite the indefinite ceasefire. CBS Bradley Blackburn has the latest.
New fears over the fragile ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran as the U.S. launches an operation to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The Pentagon says 2 U.S. commercial ships passed through the strait with the protection of the U.S. Navy Monday, despite a barrage of fire.
Okay, you can watch the rest of it if you want to by looking it up. But as you can see, the point is U.S. and Iran firing at each other in the Strait of Hormuz. An article here.
Now to
United States fires on Iranian oil tanker.
latest on the war with Iran. The U.S. military today fired an Iranian oil tanker as the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports remains in effect. President Trump posted on social media saying the war could end soon if Iran accepts his terms, but if not, quote, the bombing starts. The working framework.
You know, and Trump keep pussyfooting, talking about, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Well, if you love this truth and you're in this faith, man, and you're a part of this walk, you know, you're praying every day that this shit pop off already. You know, you're praying that Yahweh Shemel Shah destroy this place, destroy Babylon the Great. You know, we begging Yahweh Shah to come back and do away with the wicked Esau, Edom. And we pray that Yahweh Shemel Shah lift the standard for us, right? Giving the hopeful elect spiritual power, all right? What the world would deem as superpowers, if you will. Okay, the ability to heal people, right? You're going to see this. There's going to come a time where you're going to see the hopeful elect men of Yahweh Shem Shai, you know, having the standard lifted, meaning being given spiritual power because divine intervention is going to be needed for what's coming, all right? How heavy Esau is about to come down on Jake, on our people, right? Divine intervention is going to be needed. And so what you're going to see is the prophets of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shah, the hopeful elect, you know, receiving spiritual power, okay? Being able to, you know, heal sick people who may be dying with cancer or, you know, they paraplegic and can't walk, or they deaf and can't hear, or they blind and can't see, you know? Or they might be missing a limb, and a man of Yahweh Shem Shai, that's given spiritual power, will be able to grow that limb back right there. You know, you're going to see these different kind of miracles performed. All right, that day is going to come, you know. And notice how you're seeing a lot of kids dying. All right. Oh, yeah, we're going to get to that one, too, down there. But I'm going to just run through these real quick for the kids, and then we're going to jump to this one right here where the groom, who's 22, was shot dead or deleted. Mom screamed after realizing her 2-year-old daughter had left home. She was found in the backyard pond. Second individual found guilty in rape and abuse of an 11-month-old infant. Little boy comes home from daycare with hole in lip where teeth had gone through, while the facility quietly deleted the video. Pennsylvania mom allegedly forced adopted son, 5 years old, to drink from the toilet bowl before he was deleted. Dad head-butted, punched, and squeezed his 27-day-old son until his own ribs hurt. 2-month-old boy will have injuries for the rest of his life thanks to mom and dad. Ohio daycare worker convicted of horrible physical abuse of toddlers, sentenced to years in prison. I believe that's the incident right here with the boy with the hole in his teeth. 9-year-old boy known as Mom's Little Man reportedly died, was deleted with BB pellets in body. Now mom and boyfriend are charged. 8 children deleted in Louisiana domestic shooting, mourned by community during funeral service. So, as you can see, man, Yahweh Shem Shai, like we always tell y'all, Yahweh Shem Shai is no respecter of persons, man. All right? He is no respecter of persons. Okay? And we in a time where the love of many is waxing cold. Okay? Salakia. Gonna get Acts chapter 10, verse 34. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, of a truth I perceive that the Most High is no respecter of person. You see? So it don't matter if you're young or old. All right? You know, that's also in the book of Ezekiel chapter 9. Slay utterly young and old. You know, little children. You know? Also the scripture that says, happy shall he be, roughly paraphrasing, happy shall he be when he dasheth thy little ones against the stones, right? When Yahweh Shem Shai allows us to recompense our enemies for the things that they did to us, that's going to be included. Dasheth thy little ones against the stones. Yahweh Shem Shai is no respecter of persons, man. All right. Is it Matthew 12 or is it Matthew 22? Or is it Matthew 24? Salakia. Bear with me, please. Oh, it was Matthew 24. Salakia. I skimmed through it too fast. Matthew 24:12, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. You see? So you got a lot of you know, individuals killing their own children. You know? And we know in the scriptures, you know, there's gonna come a time during Jacob's trouble where, you know, there are gonna be women, men too, of course, but there are gonna be women that eat their young. You know? Cannonballism is making a comeback. Yes, cannonballism. That shit is gonna make a fierce comeback. Not that it's not already happening, but during Jacob's trouble, yeah. You know, because like we always say, Jacob's trouble is gonna be greasy to the point where people, men, women, and children are gonna get gang raped to death, man, and then cannibalized. You know, that type of shit is going to happen. All right. But okay, let me grab. All right, before I grab that, elementary schooler dies after being seriously injured by falling tree on playground. You see, Salaki, I meant to make this quick. Let me just grab a couple of these real quick. This is the book of Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 39 and verse 28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. So that's why that tree fell on him like that. You understand? Because his steps was guided by Yahweh Shem Shai, and that's what was written, man. You don't know what somebody did in the past life, right? None of us know what we did. Some or all of us could have been in any number of past lives, could have been murderers, rapists, you know, human traffickers, whoremongers, or pimps, now they call, right? Dope dealers, drug dealing, right? Meaning witchcraft, all right? You know, you just never know. And on top of that, like, it's just so much more sin beyond that, right? Like not adhering to the dietary laws, eating abominable foods, right? Having sex with a woman on her period, right? Both he and her is wrong for that. All right, having sex on the Sabbath, observing these pagan holidays, okay? You know, getting tattoos, etc. So like, any number of ways we could have been going off in the past life and got to pay for that, man. All right. And just to hit the nail on the head with that, this is Psalms chapter 78 and verse 49. He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath, and indignation and trouble by sending evil angels among them. You see, that's who would accomplish something like a fallen tree falling on a kid on a playground. Is an evil angel, you know, spirit made for vengeance, if you will. right. So I'm gonna try to see if I can. Okay, groom. We gonna finish with this, and I'm gonna just grab one or two scriptures. Groom 22 was shot dead on the way to his wedding. All right, a 22-year-old groom was shot and killed in India while he was on his way to his wedding. So this was in India, but the point of it that I wanted to bring out is this. All right, there's gonna come a time where, many men are gonna be killed here in Babylon. Like many men here are gonna die. As far as not only Jacob's trouble, but being drafted to World War III. All right, being killed or deleted in the race wars, the Civil War, all right, the gender war, okay. And if you take a look at different comment boards, right, just in different places, different apps and such like this, if you look at the comment boards, there's a lot of not in this one per se, but just there's a lot of back and forth between the nations, right, namely Esau and Jake, right, and I find that, and we can find that to be escalating quickly every day, right? More and more enmity, if you will, between, not only the tribes of Israel, like within our nation, but, just between Jake and Esau. All right, so race wars on the way, But like I said, there's gonna be a lot of men that get deleted, man. All right, let me grab that real quick. It's the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 16 and verse 33. And it reads, "The virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms." Virgins being beautiful, young, beautiful women of marriageable age. What is marriageable age? When a girl turns, typically between the ages of 12 and 14, and she's start her menstrual cycle or whatever the case may be, then she becomes a woman. You see? And right, so the virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, right, being the older ones, having no, not necessarily older, like they 50, 60. I mean, it's going to be them too, but just it means the women that are not necessarily as youthful as the virgins. Okay, that's what it means. The women shall mourn, having no husbands, right, because they boyfriends. But really, there ain't no such thing as a boyfriend. The men that they be laying with are their husbands, right? Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. You see? In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. So, in all those different wars I mentioned, the men, like young men, right? Young men, meaning young men from 12 to 14, all the way on up to older men, are going to be destroyed in these wars, and their husbands shall perish of famine, right? Meaning the men, a lot of people are going to die from famine, which is like one of the worst ways you could go. But, when Jacob's trouble hit, a lot of folks is going to die from famine. Okay. It's right here. Verse 21, "Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion." So, it might come a time where everybody's thinking shit's sweet, all right? They're thinking everything is good, all right? And then those evils and that judgment is going to come upon the earth. "For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy." You see? But many are going to perish from famine. All right. Man, it was another one I was looking for. As far as with the famine, it's in 2nd Ezra 15. Salakia, bear with me. Okay, it's not. Oh, is it in Ecclesiasticus? Oh no, it's 2nd Ezra 6, my bad. Salakia. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. Right, the sown places being all the fields for farming and stuff like that, and the full storehouses being the grocery stores, right, different stores where food is and what have you, are going to be empty, raided, ransacked, right? And then, people won't be working in that time of Jacob's trouble, shit hitting the fan, so it ain't like the stores is getting restocked. It ain't like truck drivers is bringing, the loads across the country or whatever like this, so many men are going to perish in famine, right? Like we just read, and their husbands shall perish of famine. You see? And during that time, that's when the prophecy of Isaiah 4:1 will really kick into higher gear, if you will. Because these women are going to want a man that can lead them and protect them and what have you. And they're going to see that the only men left standing, for the most part, are men of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Because the men that don't have Yahweh Shem Yahushai and are not of the elect, right? They going to get beaten to powder, man, balled up like a piece of paper and tossed in the trash. Kobe. All right. So, yeah, man, that's predominantly the point on that. A lot of men are getting ready to die, man. California firefighter accused of raping 3 women while on duty. There's that one. Teenager Susana Morales was walking 15 minutes home when she vanished. All right. And apparently, the Jake you see right there on the right, he's a cop. He basically kidnapped. Long story short, he kidnapped her, raped her, and shot and deleted her out in the woods. And the gun in her body was discovered and stuff like this, and that's how he got convicted. But I'm bringing these out to say,
Now to a
what you seeing is how they getting convicted, right? During Jacob's trouble, they won't be getting convicted for this shit. You understand? So this is why you females, who are not gonna get in line, well, shit like this is gonna happen to y'all. Whereas the few sincere sisters out there who are praying to Yahweh Shem Yahushai for a man of the Lord, they gonna be okay. They gonna be good. Them hopeful elect sisters, you hopeful elect sisters are gonna be good. Y'all ain't got nothing to worry about. It's these females in the world that have something to worry about when it comes to shit like this. All right. Sheriff deputy arrested for child rape, human trafficking in Massachusetts. We already read this, but second individual found guilty in rape and abuse of 11-month-old infant. Subway manager who trapped 10-year-old girl behind a locked door and said her parents were trash will spend less time in prison than she did. Right? Hold themselves not guilty, like the scriptures say. All right? That's Esau for you. And look at this. Man sentenced to 15 years after child secretly recorded in Cole's changing room. All right? But look, man, get right with Yahweh Shem Yahushai, because there ain't going to be no convicting these motherfuckers with that spirit on them to do shit like that. All right? To really get on that. There ain't going to be no peeping Tom type situation. It's going to be a grab and go. All right? And everybody's about to find out how wicked Esau is, man. Restaurant owner, 52, shoots dead pregnant wife, who's 39, and 2 children, 4 and 8, before off and himself in their $1.2 million home. A wealthy, they put that in all caps, a wealthy, to let you know, restaurateur and former pharmaceutical CEO deleted his pregnant wife and 2 young children before turning a gun on himself. And, just by looking at his wife, she looked, pretty covered up to a degree, but her cleavage still shouldn't be out, which I'm not saying she did nothing on it, because obviously I don't know the situation and we don't have all the details, but, it's a common thing where when women, show off their assets, if you will, right? Like got their cleavage out because because they boobs are big, right? Or their ass might be fat and look good or whatever the case may be. So they wear certain clothes that exemplify that. You see what I'm saying? Attention seeking. So, he could have been the jealous type and either caught her cheating or, trying to cheat or whatever the case may be. You never know, but the world is going to see Esau is the wicked. Esau is the devil that the Bible speaks of. All right. Look, he was a wealthy pharmaceutical motherfucker, but you're going to have your wealthy individual Edomites, right? Doctors, lawyers, businessmen, you name it, right? They're going to show their true colors when Jacob's trouble hit. They're going to show their true colors, man. And the world is going to see that this man is the devil. All right. So I'm going to leave it there, man. Abarat as our Father will. This was edifying to the hopeful elect. Until the next video, Shalom.